Greetings, diners, and welcome to another edition of the Collapse Cafe here in the Doomstead Diner. And today we're going to do part 3 of the discussion that Irv Mills and I held a few weeks ago. Cheers. In the prior 2 episodes, Irv covered pickle making in the first one, and then I covered candle making in the second one. And Irv is picking up the ball again this time with another one of his food cookery hobbies, which is cheese making. Okay, and you might note something in common between pickle making and cheese making, which is that these are both forms of storing of food from the days that, before there was refrigeration. And of course, both Irv and I are concerned with the issues of collapse and when we might end up losing electricity to power refrigerators and all the rest. It probably is not going to happen too soon, but it's never too early to start gaining your skills and improving your skills in these sort of things. And even if it takes till your children's generation and not yours, then you will be able to pass these skills on to them. And there are many more, of course. This is only scratching the surface of it. But let me once again go through the major story of the week that's coming around, which is that despite the fact that we have huge spike-ups in numerous states, including my own state of Alaska, with COVID, many school districts are planning to do a full reopening in the next week or so. And I have said it before, but I'll say it again. I can't think of anything more irresponsible and stupid than doing this. Kids are fantastic disease carriers and transmitters. And putting them together in classrooms, they're going to spread this virus even more and even faster. And that's something that we just cannot afford. Many places, once again, are running out of ICU beds. So why they are persisting in making this kind of egregious error is beyond me. Well, it's political expediency, but even so, it's just hard to believe. All right. Now, without further ado, let's make some cheese. Right, let's finish up here with one more food topic, which is another ancient technique for preserving food in the absence of refrigeration, and that is cheese making. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your milk.
Yep.
Which, if you are fortunate enough to have cows or goats or sheep that produce milk, and you want to store that stuff because you can't drink it all at the rate that they'll produce it at some times, again, depends on the size of your family and all that, but if you want to save it, you got to have some means to convert it to a more long-lasting food. And the
Yep.
main from the ancient times is cheese. And there
Yep.
are many varieties of cheese, many varieties. And I love just about all of them, okay? Especially the really stinky ones.
Yeah.
uh, but anyway, I'm going to let Herb talk a little bit now about cheese making and
Yeah.
procedures and so forth. Herb, take it away.
Okay. I've got in my hand here a piece of provolone that I made. I think it was back in January, and just recently took out of my aging cave to see how it was, and it was delicious. um, yeah, you wanted me to just give a brief outline of what's involved in making something like that. Well, you need milk, uh, and this was made with just uh, plain old bought in the supermarket milk. Uh, Little easier if you have a source of fresh cow's milk, but it certainly can be made with the stuff that you can buy in the store. The other things you need are the the cultures, the bacteria, which are involved in the cheese making, and the this stuff called rennet, which is actually an enzyme that makes the milk curdle. And while there are synthetic ways of making it, basically it occurs in the stomachs of calves that are being fed milk. It's part of the digestion process, and so in a post-collapse situation, if you've got a butcher around, and he'd probably be a fairly important person, he could probably get you that. I forget, a cow has 4 stomachs, so does a calf. Uh, and I forget which one it is, whether I think it's the second. That's the number that's coming to mind. But anyways, in the lining of that stomach has this enzyme in it, and it makes the milk curdle. So basically, the process of making milk is to put your milk in a big pot, and I put it in another big pot that has water in it because we want to heat it gently. We don't want to be burning it, and monitor it with a thermometer, and you take it up to, well, for provolone, you take it up to around 90 Fahrenheit. It, uh, and then you put in the right types of cultures. Again, all this stuff is available on the internet. Uh, and you let the bacteria wake up and uh, start working on the milk, acidifying it just a bit, because these are lactic acid bacteria that turn the lactose, the sugar in the milk, into lactic acid. And then a while after that's been going on, you add the rennet, and we're not talking very much. I usually make it in a big hot pot that holds 16 quarts of milk, and it only takes about half or 3/4 a teaspoon of rennet to make it work. You'll have been stirring it a bit while the bacteria are initially doing their job, but once you put the rennet in, you let it sit, and you come back, maybe an hour later, and it's set up solid. Not as solid as the cheese will eventually be, but it's definitely curdled. Take a big knife and you cut it into cubes, and you warm it up some more. I think the provolone here got heated all the way up to around 120 Fahrenheit and kept there for a little while. This drives the liquid, the whey, out of the curds, and then you drain them off and put through some cheesecloth and a colander. Now, normally at that point you would put your cheese in a mold and press it, but provolone's kind of a unique cheese, it and mozzarella and a few others, that go through a process of being stretched. So you let the bacteria work until the pH, the acidity, gets down to about 5.2 or so. Last winter, I was having trouble with it getting away on me and going too low. I ended up making something that was more like Feta. But anyways, this batch here, I caught it in time. And and then you cut it into little pieces and you pour really hot water over it. You get it up to around 160 Fahrenheit, and it becomes stretchy, just like cheese on a pizza, which is mozzarella, of course. And you stretch it and work it, and then you can form it when it's in that state into all kinds of neat shapes. And then you put it in some cold water, chill it down so it isn't stretching anymore. And then you would put it in a saturated salt brine, let it sit, depends on how much you got, so many hours per pound. Mine had to sit overnight. And then I took it out of that brine, and you could, there's any number of ways you can protect it so mold won't grow on it, but they've got this stuff called cream wax, which looks like white glue, actually. You paint that on and let it dry, and it keeps the mold, which is floating around in the air all the time, from settling on your cheese and turning it into blue cheese, which you didn't intend to make. Anyways, and then I have a root cellar down the basement where the temperatures, well, we're aiming for around 55 Fahrenheit. And you put their cheese there for the first while. You turn it once a day, and then after a month or so, you turn it once a week. And sometime later, depending on how much patience you got, maybe how hungry you are, you cut it up, peel the cream wax off the outside, and you've got some very nice cheese. So provolone is really, it's just aged mozzarella is what it amounts to. And if you don't mind, I'm just gonna grab a little bit here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good cheese. Very nice. Mm-hmm. The first batch of that I made this year was too salty, but I got it right that time. So there we are.
Cheese after this show is over.
I'm making you hungry, am I? Yeah, good for you. It's after supper here, but it's.
You mentioned
mid-afternoon. You are
that your ideal temperature down in your root cellar, cheese making cellar, whatever. You want to keep at around 55 Fahrenheit. How hard is it to keep it at that temperature on the hot days of summer?
Fairly hard. It's a few feet underground, so that helps. But to be honest, sometimes what I've done is taken big plastic jugs, fill them with water, put them in my freezer, and froze them. And then every couple of days, I would take the ones that have melted out of the cheese cave and put freshly frozen ones in, and that would keep it down. Otherwise, it sneaks up into the low 60s. And in the wintertime, when it's colder than that outside, I've even had to put a little bit of heat in there, just a light bulb on a dimmer so that I can control it to keep it around 55. The thing is, if the temperature isn't exact, you just end up making a little bit different tasting cheese. You know, that's practically.
Well, one thing is, as long as the tech is available, you can buy these small, and I've been considering purchasing one for my van, Savannah. These small 8,000 BTU portable air conditioners that have a tube that runs out of them and whatnot.
Yes, I've seen those.
And the space in my van, which I imagine your cheese cellar is not any bigger than that.
Yeah, wouldn't be.
It'll keep it at whatever temperature you want in the summer. And in the wintertime, as you mentioned, it's not hard. to keep it at the right temperature. All you need is probably a couple of candles would do it. Would keep the temp
Well,
up. And
the other possibility, you may have seen these things that are made for storing wine in, a wine chiller.
Mhm.
And a lot of wine is best around 55 Fahrenheit as well for storage. You can buy those. They're not hugely expensive, and they aren't, they're like a miniature fridge with racks inside and everything. And a lot of cheesemakers, small scale cheesemakers like me, get one of those and use that as a way of storing the cheese at a fixed temperature. What's even trickier is it needs to be at a fixed humidity too, and a fairly high humidity, somewhere around 80% relative humidity to age properly. So one thing for that is to take a bowl and fill it with salt and put not anywhere near enough water to dissolve it, but just to make it moist. And that salt loves water and will actually pick the moisture up from the air. If the air is too moist, then it'll give it off if it's too dry. And ordinary kitchen salt, sodium chloride, will keep your relative humidity somewhere around 70. So that's what I've been using. It's a little lower than it should be.
If that's all you're using that for,
Yeah.
suggest using calcium chloride
Mhm.
instead of sodium chloride, because
Yep.
you get more ions per unit of water in that.
Right.
Cheaper too.
Yep.
Calcium, if you don't know, is ice melt. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Road salt.
kind of salt that you use on your driveway and so forth. And the formula for calcium chloride is CaCl3. Every calcium atom needs 3 chlorine atoms to balance out its electric potential.
Yep.
Whereas sodium chloride, so it will, when it disassociates in water, it produces 4 ions. Sodium chloride is NaCl, which is 1 atom of sodium to 1 atom of chlorine.
Yep.
Same amount of sodium chloride, salt, table salt, will only produce 2
Yep.
ions per teaspoon or tablespoon or whatever of salt. So if what you're doing is using this solution to keep the humidity up in the air, calcium chloride is probably the better choice.
I'll have to try that.
Just a suggestion. It's also true if you are freezing water to in jugs to change out. I do that with my freezer and my coolers. In the winter, I have a couple of dozen jugs outside that I use for that. If you make those into calcium chloride solutions, they get a shitload colder than plain water or even a sodium chloride solution. They stay frozen longer. And they work better. Okay.
Yes, that would be a good idea for sure.
I've never measured the exact temperature difference, but it's substantial. It of course depends on how much you solvate and all the rest, and what the outside temperature was. And I don't do that with every jug, because I like some jugs to always have fresh water in them. Not salt in any way, so that I can use them as a source of drinking water also, if necessary.
Always a good thing to have a source of. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. All right. Well, this was a pretty long one for me and Irv. We're nearing 2 hours, Irv. I'm going to have to split this one up.
Yeah.
So, I urge, and we did not drift too much into coronavirus stuff today.
Amazing.
Good news too, because
Yeah.
it's so enveloping us right now that it's scary.
It is.
That direction things are going, and I don't know where it's going to end up. I just know we're in a very deep, deep, deep mess.
Yep.
And that's all to do. This time until next time, here on the Club's Cafe of the Doomsday Diner. Hasta la pickles, cheese making, and candles. See you later, Doom fans. Whew. And that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's good.
That was a good one, Irv. That was really good one. I don't know how long it is, but it's pretty fucking long.
Well, it was about 6 here when you called, and now it's about 10 to 8. So it's an hour and 50 minutes. Well, the first bit you'll cut off because we were just talking about, we were getting ready. So maybe it's only an hour and 3/4 or whatever. But still, that's good.
I'm probably cutting off the first 10 minutes of it, maybe 15, but it's going to be at least an hour and a half. Sure. And so I will probably divide it into sections. I'll have to look and see.
Get more mileage out of it that way.
Oh, yeah. I love that because that means more weeks where I don't have to make another video,
Right on. Well, I'm over the next while. I'm going to get a little deeper into video making here, and we'll do up some basket making videos. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah, I look forward to that. But like I said, it's going to take at least 2 weeks, and then I'm going to have some pickle.
Yeah, good for you. Good stuff, eh?
Good pickles. They're Boar's Head. So pretty commonly available. You should try out a bottle.
Yeah. What brand is that?
Hold on, let me get the top screwed on. I'll show you.
Okay. Perfect timing here. My wife just got back. So that's kosher dill, and it's Bear's Head. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I got you.
Boar's Head.
Boar's Head. Okay. Yeah. Very good.
Very, very common national brand. So you should be able to find it in one of your local food superstores.
Well, we'll see.
So,
Canada can be a little different at times, but yeah, I'll have a look.
Yeah, that's true. But if you can find it, buy a bottle, and I'll reimburse you for it if you want. Taste it out and see if you can improve on it.
Well, I'll have to trial and error, you know. That's what I find with pickle making, because they gotta sit for at least a month, so you don't get too many cycles of experimentation into a season. That's the interesting thing about making pickles. It takes years to develop your exact method for doing it. This is so far
Yeah,
my second year.
well, I mean, whenever, and you can just do it up the way you do it, and I'll test it out, and
Yeah.
I'll let you know. Uh,
Okay.
Basically, to me, this one needs more, relative to what I remember of Batamti. Last time I had a Batamti pickle, probably more than a decade ago. Is it short on both the dill and the garlic?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I like heavy dill, heavy garlic.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
So,
Well, a few years ago, now there's two ways of making pickles, basically. The one uses vinegar,
mhm.
and practically all the commercially made pickles you get are made with vinegar. But you can make pickles that are based on lactic acid. It's the same process that you use for sauerkraut. You take your cucumbers and your dill and your garlic and put them in a salty brine, and just walk away and leave them more or less at room temperature. And because there's lactic acid bacteria everywhere, all of a sudden they start getting sourer and sourer until eventually they're done, and you'd be ready to eat them. And they'll keep a long time, even at room temperature. I made some a few years ago, and they were really good. So maybe I'll send you some of those this year. I'm
That sounds
gonna
good.
start a bucket of those tomorrow.
That sounds really good. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right. All right. So we'll sign off. I'll let you know how the render came out. And, with
Yep.
luck, I should have at least the first part up next Sunday.
Oh, sounds good. I'll look forward to that, Ari. That'd be great.
All right. Tell your wife I said hello.
I will do that. And you hang in there.
Doing my best.
You betcha.
Pasta la pasta.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.